What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into Hawk Talk on Melrose. I am Collin, joined today with Tyler. Iowa getting the job done at Maryland yesterday, 29-13. Tyler, not going to lie to you, I was a little worried about this game going in. I just did not feel confident, and it really wasn't because we were starting our fourth-string quarterback. That wasn't the reason. I was a little bit more just worried about the defensive side of the ball. And all these away games this year, you talk Michigan State, you talk UCLA, Ohio State, defense has not looked that good. And now we're going on the road again. And now we're without our best corner. And that's been an area of concern is in the secondary. The one positive about the secondary was Jamari Harris locking down that side of the field. And now you take him out. And it's like, oh boy. But I thought everybody stepped up. This was a classic Kirk Ferentz game. And what I mean by that is when we're up against the wall, when there's distraction after distraction after distraction, the season's pretty much over with. It kind of just seems like, God, do the guys even care at this point? And I will give Kirk that is he is so good at rallying the troops, at motivating the players. And they came out, even though, yeah, the season's kind of over with, playing on the road at Maryland with no fans in the stands. They looked pretty good yesterday, and we got the job done.
Yeah, that's really where I wanted to start at, Collin, is just the effort that the team gave on the road. Because like you said, the team's sitting at 6-4 going into the game. Not much to really play for when you really think about it. What you just mentioned with the Cade not being available, Jamari now being injured and pretty much being done the rest of the year. It's really easy for guys to just mail it in, right? Mail it in for the season, but and that's the one thing that I love about Kirk Ferentz is the culture at Iowa. Just it never gets old. Seeing, him being able to get his guys ready and play like it's the Big Ten championship almost, right? They're always, no matter what the game is, they're always gonna play, as hard as they can. And that's why I love, and that's where I wanted to start. But you're exactly right, dude. I honestly thought Iowa, given what you just mentioned, you laid it all out, all the circumstances working against them, and just the fact that this team is not played good on the road this year besides the Minnesota game. I mean, every other game it's been horrible, and to put up 29 points on the road against Maryland, that was very surprising, and a sight to finally see on the road for sure.
Yeah, let's start with the offense side of the ball, because I thought Jackson Stratton did a great job all around. You didn't ask him to do a whole hell of a lot, but he did just fine. No turnovers besides maybe, that one to Kamari when he handed the ball off. I don't know if that was more Kamari or more Jackson, but it was a pretty good game given, this guy's a walk-on. He's a fourth-string quarterback. He was playing scout team, linebacker, and you ask him to go on the road in a Big Ten game and win it for you. And once again, he wasn't the reason we won that game. Obviously, it was more the run game, Caleb Johnson defense. I get that, but he did just enough. And I was pretty impressed with him. I'm not going to lie. I really was. I was not expecting a whole lot. I was, to the point where it's like, man, how unlucky are we? Cade gets hurt. Then, Sullivan, a guy that we were just excited for, now he's done. Marco, he's a cast on his thumb. It's like, man, and now we're on to Jackson. But I think the one thing that I will say with Jackson, I think it's pretty evident, is the guy can air it out. He can throw it. And I'm not going to say I was the one that said this, because I was listening to two guys, Chris Hassel, Chris Williams, and Chris Williams made a good point. It's like, this guy was going to Colorado State for a reason. Colorado State is not a team that just runs the ball. They are an air raid, throw it, and they want guys that can throw the ball. And so he went there. They obviously wanted Jackson for a reason. So that is one thing that we are getting with him. And that's kind of the reason why I wanted to see a little bit more passing yesterday, just to see what we have, especially when we go up against Nebraska. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I thought he did a serviceable job stepping in under, unlikely or unfortunate circumstances for him. I mean, like you said, thank God for the bye week, though. I think that helped a ton.
Yes. 100%.
Not that, like you said, not that we asked him to do a whole lot, but just getting him comfortable, making sure, you get the simple things down, like you mentioned, the snap, the handoffs, things like that. And I think that one handoff was Kamari's fault. He put it right in his belly, and I think Kamari just fumbled it. But, 10 of
Wait,
14. Go ahead.
I will say this with Kamari is it's kind of, usually when our running backs make a mistake, you don't see them the rest of the game. So it's cool that the coaches, like, even though he made that mistake, they
Yep.
let him back in and he had that long touchdown. It was just cool to see. But yep, carry on.
Yeah, no, 100% that he didn't just get put in the doghouse the rest of the game. Yeah, that
Yep.
was really good to see. But yeah, 10 of 14, 76 yards. He made one throw across the field. I don't remember who it was to.
I think it was to Gill. Or no,
Was it
Bowie
to
maybe?
Gill?
Bowie.
Bowie.
I think it was to Bowie.
That was a great throw. And even the announcer was like, does this guy have a rocket for an arm? And like you saw it. You saw the arm strength on display there. And you're exactly right. I mean, with what Chris Williams said, I mean, that was a great point that he brought up. It's like, you went there for a reason. Like the guy can throw the football, right? He's not going to be the most athletic guy. He's not going to run around like Sully, but he can throw the football. And he was accurate yesterday. 10 of 14, 76 yards for a four-string quarterback on the road for a first career start.
Yeah.
Take that any day of the week.
He had that one where he, scanned the field and he checked down to Caleb. And that was great because he was looking around the field.
Went
and
through
then
his progression.
Yep. Checked down to Caleb. You just don't usually see that with a first game starting quarterback, right? You're kind of panicky. So I thought just his composure was really well. And like you said, you brought it up, great point with the bye week. That definitely helped, giving him 2 weeks to prepare, getting
Having
2 weeks
Tim
to
work with him.
Yep, exactly. So
go through that.
Back in February, when Tim Lester got hired, he was talking about how when, he's called plays or he's called games where he's ran the ball 70 times and he's called games where he's passed the ball so many times. It just depends on how things are going. So yesterday was a classic example of that where, let's just keep running the football, right? You got Caleb Johnson, one of the best running backs in the country. We're getting like 5 yards a carry right now, or even more than that. Let's just keep running it. I would have liked to see just maybe a little bit more passing. I kind of jotted down here, especially on third down. I just felt like we strapped Jackson down a little bit on third down, as if it's like, we're 6-4 at the time. We're now 7-4. I get that, but we were 6-4.
Right.
We have nothing to lose at this point. And so I just jotted down like 3rd and 7, we ran. 3rd and 12, we ran. 3rd and 15, we ran. 3rd and 2, we ran. 3rd and 4, we ran. 3rd and 12, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 2. And then we only passed the ball twice on third down, 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 4. So it's just like, that's where it's kind of like, I wish we would have just, because once again, you're starting against Nebraska more than likely. Am I 100% confident? Not quite yet. But if we would have maybe seen a little bit more passing, maybe I would be. I mean, he was 10 for 14. And I think you said it yesterday after the game. Even if like he would have finished with maybe 20 throws, like give him 6 more throws, I think that would have been great, right? Like
third downs, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that's just what once again, don't get me wrong. We were running the ball very well. I don't want to make it seem like I was like, why are we running so much? It's boring. Like I love running the football. And when you can just keep doing it, even though the defense knows it's coming, that is an awesome feeling because that, the offensive line, the running backs, they are just having a day. But I just wish there was maybe a few times in there, especially on third down, where it's like, hey, let's give Jackson, a chance. He's 10 for 14. He has a pretty good arm. Like in another example, third quarter, we had the wind behind our back. We didn't one time that quarter. And this was a quarter where Maryland started kind of making a comeback because we were kind of being very, very relaxed on offense. Why did we not take just like one shot down the field? Just kind of see what happens, or throw a ball 20 or 30 yards down the field. We didn't do any of that in the third quarter.
That's exactly right. I mean, you look at the final score and you say 29-13, easy victory. But yeah, the third quarter, I'm looking, it's 13-6 after Maryland gets that touchdown. They obviously don't convert on the 2-point, and all of a sudden you're kind of, I think you even text me, you're like, boy, this third quarter we're really playing not to lose type of football, and this has that Iowa State feel to it, where it's we're kind of just playing not to lose. Let's just chew the clock. Let's run the ball, and you're giving Maryland every opportunity to try to take this game from you. And so I agree with you there. I think, and that's what I said. I'm like, a few of those third downs when it's not 3rd and 12. Okay, you run the ball on 3rd and 12. Fine, you're behind the chains, but 3rd and 7. 3rd and medium. Let him try to go get that first down and keep the drives going there. I thought, like you said, they handicapped him a little bit And I just don't think they wanted him to make a mistake. And I get it. The defense, we'll talk about it, was playing, pretty much lights out throughout the game. And
Yeah.
so I think they thought they had the game in hand and let's just play not to lose. But I agree with you. It's like, I guess the fan in me, like you said, we were 6-4. It's like, just let him try it, man.
Yep. So you look here, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the drive chart. The first quarter, man, for us, and going into the second quarter, even though we didn't score on the first drive, 12 plays,
Yeah.
65 yards, 13 plays, 59 yards, 14 plays, 77 yards, sustaining drives. I've said that all year.
You'd have thought that'd be the third quarter right there with those numbers, right? And to see us actually come out on fire was really good to see.
Yeah. Said this all year. Like, I love scoring, but can we also sustain drives? Like,
Yep.
I want to see that. And that was, those
Time of
three
possession.
drives were great. And, great play calling, great, just everything around, game plan going into the game with Tim Lester. And the defense benefited from that, because then you go over to the other side and you look at Maryland's drive chart. When we're sustaining drives, you keep the defense off the field, you keep them well rested. And you look at Maryland's first half, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. Yeah. Time of possession was crazy for Iowa.
Yeah.
And then you get in the third quarter, and to your point, we started just playing very, very conservative. It was like Kirk was saying in the piece, to Lester, hey, dial it in. We're not going to do a whole lot in the second half. And I just don't really agree with that, because it's like, what? Like, come on, just keep the foot on the pedal. And you see the minute we started just playing very conservative, we weren't sustaining drives. We were not out there very long. The defense then started being out there, and you started seeing, kind of wearing down a little bit. And then in the second half, Maryland touchdown, punt, touchdown. And then luckily, we were at the end of the game able to get 2 turnovers. They had their backup quarterback in. But that is where it's like, that's what annoys me sometimes, is when we get a little too conservative, which happens a whole hell of a lot under Ferentz. It's when we start kind of breaking down then on defense, because we're not out there very long on offense. And that's why I love sustaining drives. I don't care if you score or not, but if you sustain drives, man, you're out there for 3, 4, 5 minutes at a time. You keep the defense off the field. That's winning football.
It's funny too, and I'm just thinking about this now. Is like in the moment when you mentioned like how fast we start, right? Like you mentioned, we didn't get a touchdown, but we had a big drive. Then it's a field goal. Then it's a touchdown.
Yep.
And you get up by that, and you have a 13-point lead in the first half. You're like, oh my God, this is awesome. You almost, looking back, it's like, why did I not see us? Why did I not see it coming? Where it's like, we're just gonna play not to lose.
Yeah,
we're gonna go back to what we know.
Especially with the 4th-string quarterback,
that's
you knew it was gonna happen under Ferentz, right?
And I'm not mad about it, because I get it.
Again,
I get the situation. I think we're talking about just that philosophy where we want to see maybe, if we're nitpicking, that philosophy be a little bit more aggressive, like we were at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, overall, not bad. Switching to the defense side of the ball, one last, before we kind of get into the Nebraska game and Cade McNamara, I thought they played a great game. I mean, I was expecting maybe a similar result like UCLA, especially with Jamari Harris not playing. I thought maybe Maryland would just throw the ball all over the field. Guys would be open. And we saw that a little bit in the third quarter, or maybe it was earlier on in the fourth quarter when they got that touchdown. The guy was wide open twice. Xavier not being there. But I thought overall, though, defensive line played outstanding. They couldn't get anything going in the running game, and we were applying pressure like there was no tomorrow.
Yeah, Iowa's defense holding Maryland at 227 total yards, which coming into the game, they averaged 289 passing yards a game, basically 290 yards a game through the air, and to hold them to 129 is incredible, given Jamari being down. And that was a concern with Jamari, right, as our pass defense sometimes, especially on the road. And so I agree with you. I thought going into the game, I was like, oh boy, this is why I thought we were going to lose, because we haven't been playing well with Jamari, even with Jamari. Whoever that is on the opposite side is getting picked on like crazy. Jamari's holding his own, but it's always the other side that it just seems like it just has not been good. And give him a lot of credit, give Phil Parker a lot of credit, because they all played great. I mean, for the most part, like you mentioned, a couple breakdowns, I think, by Xavier, letting that receiver from Maryland, their best receiver, get a or touchdown and a couple catches, but just I mean, like you said, D line actually felt like we were registering pressure with four guys for once, which was good to see. 3 sacks on the day. Llewellyn forcing, I mean, that D line essentially knocked their quarterback out of the game.
Yeah,
I mean, they were applying that much pressure on the guy, and he came in a little injured already, but they really got after him, including the backup that played most of the game too. So
you could tell that they were wanting to get back on the field after the UCLA game because they just did not play very good, right? Like UCLA's offensive line pretty much dominated our defensive line. Same with our offensive line against their defensive line. And so both offense and defense line, you could tell like they were kind of a chip on their shoulder, right? This game. Also, one last thing, I don't want to forget about him, but Drew Stevens, 5 field goals, and it wasn't like these were, I mean, some of them were shorter, but you're talking a 54-yarder, a 50-yarder, and a 49-yarder. With the wind conditions, and he nails them all. He also had a 27-yarder and a 26-yarder, but 5 for 5. Man, if you had him in fantasy yesterday, he would have put up a lot of freaking points for you. What an outstanding day for him. I mean, those are big time kicks because we had to settle a lot for field goals. You're talking 15 points right there. And, without those field goals, it's a really close game at that point, right? It's a 14-13 game, and anything can happen at that point. So let's talk a little before we wrap this up. Obviously, we'll get into the Nebraska game. I'm going to start off with Cade and then kind of transition because of, will he start or not? I really feel like this whole situation with Cade is very weird. You had a lot of different things happening this last week. I was thinking about maybe doing an episode like on Thursday or something, maybe kind of going over everything, but I'm like, no, because we don't really know the full story, right? You got reporters saying this, you got Kirk saying this, like at the presser.
Yeah.
And then you got Cade saying that. I really don't know. And so that's not what we're going to spend much time on because frankly, we'll probably never really know what's really going on.
Yep.
For me, I hope this happens.
And just for fans, well, give the context with for fans that don't know that like what essentially has happened real quick.
Essentially,
Cade's saying he's injured with a concussion, and some of the reporters were saying that essentially he kind of just mailed it in the rest of the year.
Yeah,
he kind of lost his starting job, and so that's the dynamic that's going on, and it's kind of a he said, she said. Then you had telling the truth.
Yeah, you had Kirk on Tuesday say he wasn't or he was cleared, and then and then Cade in his Instagram post had in all caps, "I was not clear." Like it's just I don't know, it's so weird.
Okay.
Long story short, though, what I want to see happen, and let's just clear the air here. So I hope he's there on Friday night. He goes through senior day, right? He comes out, and I hope as us fans, we don't boo him.
Yep.
I think at the end of the day, yes, this era of Cade McNamara was not good, and when we got him 2 years ago, it was actually around this time. It was early December. I still remember what I was doing, where I was at when we got him. I was so pumped. I'm pretty sure everybody was excited because we were going at that point through some rough quarterback play with Spencer Petras, even though now you see Spencer actually better than I think we kind of thought. I just think, our system and Brian Ferentz as quarterbacks coach just did not help, but offense was not good. Quarterback play was not good. And we were bringing in a proven winner, a guy that made it to the Big Ten championship, finally beat Ohio State, right? So he has that winning mentality, made the playoffs. He's a competent quarterback. We were just so excited. And everything that we thought we were getting from him, like really, honestly, we did not get at all because we didn't get the winner mentality. He did not win us one big game. If anything, he lost us a few games. Iowa State game this year. I mean, once again, you don't throw that interception to start the third quarter. We do not lose that game. We're at the 40-yard line. Like it's stuff like that, right? Being a competent quarterback. I mean, I don't even know, his accuracy wasn't very good, even though we thought we were getting someone with good accuracy. He didn't have a good arm. He couldn't run. And now some of those injuries affected him. I get that. But long story short,
the laces.
Yep. Throwing without the laces. Long story short, we just, what we thought we were getting, we didn't get. And I think we can all agree the era was not good. But at the end of the day, I hope he's there on Friday. He comes out on senior day. He walks through senior day. Everybody gives him a round of applause, like, whatever.
Yeah.
But then I just hope he doesn't start. Yeah, I hope he doesn't play because it's like, it's over. It's over. Yeah. You're done after this year. Jackson, he went on the road. He won at Maryland. Give him a chance to start on Friday, and go from there because Jackson's going to be on the team next year. Cade is not. And I'm not saying Jackson's going to start next year. I do not think he will, but let's see what we have in this guy. And I'd much rather have him playing than Cade. And I'll let you say what you said to me through a text yesterday, because I don't want to take your words out of your mouth, but because I agree with what you're about ready to say.
I asked Collin this question, and I texted it, and I'll read the text. I said, my question regarding the Nebraska game is if Cade is a starter, are we really convinced that he is the best option at this point to try to beat Nebraska at home? I said the guy has literally not played in now basically over a month's time. I could literally see him looking terrible because of that fact, being rusty and whatnot, just not being out there, but also because he's not been very good this year. And so, again, that's the reason why I don't think he should start. Because number one, he hasn't played football. And then to play Nebraska team that just had a big time win at home against Wisconsin, like that's not going to be an easy game. And so do we really think he's going to be the best option? He hasn't played in forever. And then number two, again, you look at the situation, you go, if he starts and he plays terrible and we lose, what a horrible end to, he is going to get booed off the freaking field, man. I just don't think it's a good situation at all to have him in that game.
Also, I feel like the team has kind of rallied behind Jackson Stratton, right? We were hearing reports throughout the week that the players were just excited because of Jackson Stratton starting. They were rallying behind him. And then you saw at the end of the game in the locker room, you see all the smiles on their faces. Yeah. I just think you got to go with him. And yes, I agree with you. If like you play Cade and then we lose, that's like even worse than
that end of the game. Those fans are gonna for the last game of the year, and it's Nebraska of all teams. They're gonna gonna come after him.
I'm gonna say this: I don't think he will play. I think somebody even asked Kirk, and Kirk said Jackson's planning on starting. So I think we saw Cade's last throw, which was that interception. If you think about how his era started at Iowa versus how it ended, his first throw of his Iowa career was a touchdown to Seth Anderson, and his last throw in his Iowa career was a pick six. So that kind of defines how everything went with Cade McNamara at Iowa. But yeah, so Iowa plays Nebraska this weekend or this Friday, Black Friday. It's going to be a cold one. Nebraska, I was really hoping Wisconsin would beat them because it would have just been awesome to kind of try to play spoiler for them not making a bowl game for like the 9th straight time. But they did win. Their offense is definitely better now that they got Dana as their offensive coordinator. I thought that was a great move by Matt Rule a couple weeks ago. They were struggling. And unlike Kirk Ferentz, he's like, no, we got to make a change. Like, we got to do something. So they bring in Dana just be a consultant, essentially. And then they ended up like within a week was like, no, this guy's going to be the offensive coordinator. And you saw yesterday, they just looked just way better. USC game, they even though they lost, they looked better. But that was his first week as offensive coordinator. And you can kind of see how that second week, right? How much better they look. They always talk about at the beginning of the year, right? That first game, you always make the biggest jump from week 1 to week 2. And you definitely saw that with their new offensive coordinator. So it's going to be a very challenging game, but with how cold it's going to be, and, I don't know if it's going to be windy or not, but it's going to be a game that, hey, if you can win the line of scrimmage, run the football well, you should win it. And Iowa, I see, is still a 4-point favorite, which I'm a little surprised by, but yeah, man, like to me, this is my bowl game. Like this is the bowl game for me. Like, let's just, yes, the season was a disappointment. I get all that. But if you can somehow beat Nebraska, keep the trophy, obviously, but just beat Nebraska. Whenever you can beat Nebraska, that's huge. And like I said, this is a bowl game for me because the player like Caleb Johnson, for example, probably not going to play the bowl game. He'll play this game, maybe some other players as well. So I'm actually really excited for it, given the fact that, you're talking 7-4 versus a 6-5 team.
Yep, that's exactly right. The big goals before the season are out the window, but the chance to go beat Nebraska at home for kind of the last big hurrah of the season is
Yep.
definitely, worth it. So I agree 100%. And, I'm glad we got him at home. I can tell you that. I think Kinnick will be rocking for that game.
Yeah, it should be. There'll probably be a decent amount of Nebraska fans. They always show up pretty well.
Yeah.
I will be curious for how cold it's going to be. For people that don't know, it is supposed to be a high of like 25 degrees, so going to be pretty chilly. So I don't know how completely full it will be. I was just hoping. I was praying before the year. I was really hoping. Obviously we knew it was going to be a night game, and Thanksgiving was a week later than normal, so that the thought was like, yeah, it's probably going to be pretty cold. But once in a while we get lucky, right? Thanksgiving, Black Friday, sometimes it's like in the 40s, upper 30s, and I was really hoping that, but whatever, it is what it is. Since we're not doing an episode this week, what is, like, if you had to give a score prediction right now, what would it be?
I think if Iowa, is going to win this game, I really feel like you said it's going to be running the football, not turning it over, time of possession, sort of similar to the Maryland game, but obviously I think it'll be a close game because I think Nebraska's offense is pretty good. Like you said, with Dana Holgorsen now at offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm gonna go with my heart here. I'm gonna say an Iowa victory.
Yep,
we'll go 24-20.
I was gonna say like 20-17 Iowa,
okay.
But yep.
Yeah.
I think
close game. I just think a close game, right?
Yep.
I think this, it'd be awesome to kick their ass, but I just don't see it.
No. Whoever dominates the LOS line of scrimmage is going to win this game. It's as simple as that, especially with how cold it's going to be. And then, whoever wins the turnover battle, can we rattle their freshman quarterback? Just small things like that will go a long way. But that will do it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. We will be back next weekend to discuss the game, hopefully a win. And then, man, season's over with. We'll start getting more into off-season talk. Obviously, the transfer portal opens up in December. That's always a fun time of the year. We'll probably do some episodes when, if we get somebody or whatever. But that will do it. You guys have a good rest of your week. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and go Hawks.